How do we stop Brighton? I'm being deadly serious here. I'm 26 years old. Growing up, Brighton Hove Albion was a club that was, in League One or maybe in the Championship, but predominantly in League One. I couldn't even really tell you where Brighton was on the map. And then near 10 years ago, Brighton were getting a bit more on the higher end of the Championship, fighting to get into the playoffs. And they were fighting with the likes of Derby County, Middlesbrough, Burnley, Sheffield Wednesday to try to get to the Premier League. And for many clubs, and even still now, the dream is just to become an established Premier League club, a consistent Premier League club. And if you was to put your money on any team to go further than any of those, I think Brighton would be possibly the last team you'd think of. And even if it does get good, you'd always expect there to be the inevitable fall off, that the players and the manager and everything would feel like it's too good for the club. The bigger clubs, quote unquote, will come lurking by. They'll pay the big money, the players will leave, and then the inevitable drop off will come. However, Brighton, no matter who leaves, if it's a staff member, a member of scouting, manager, coach, player, it doesn't matter who leaves, because whoever comes in next is just as good, if not better. This isn't how it's meant to work. There will always be a table, a hierarchy of where teams are meant to be, and quote unquote, know your place. Brighton does not know their place. This video, of course, comes off the back of Brighton Hove Albion 2, Manchester United 1, for the first game under their new manager at home anyway, in Fabian Hüseler, who's a young, and I mean young, German coach who had a great season and promotion last season with St. Pauli. They brought in around £200 million worth of players, a complete refresh after what was already a successful and incredibly successful squad, beating Ajax in Amsterdam, beating Marseille, topping the group in the Europa League. How has this happened, and can anything be done to stop them? Or is it just a matter of time? Tell me down below your thoughts on Brighton, because for me, they are the best run club in England, by a mile. No wonder why Chelsea keeps trying to buy their club. So like, subscribe, and Mazola Designs for the best prints, all made by myself. I've just dropped a João Pedro v Man United print as well. Use code Brighton for 15% off all items. Now let's go. Brighton and Hove Albion are an extremely fun football club. They're a fun club to watch. They have fast players, direct players, play attacking football, with exciting youngsters with potential through the roof. Brighton is basically every football manager save that you've ever had, signing wonder kids from all around the world, from parts of the globe that you would never have even thought of, developing them and then becoming wonder kids and yourself for big money. And while you're also selling for big money, you're also buying 2, 3, 4 more random wonder kids that will eventually also become great as well. Brighton's track record of identifying young players at a low cost, developing them over several years, and then moving them on for large sums of money is remarkable. This dates back to 2017, and the main man behind this is of course their owner, Tony Bloom. Tony Bloom is the beating heart of the football club. Only 2 years ago, they've let go of a lot of players that for most clubs would completely demolish their squad. The likes of a Yves Bissouma that was at Spurs, Marc Cucurella to Chelsea, Leandro Trossard to Arsenal, and Alexis McAllister to Liverpool. Oh yeah, and also let's not forget the small amount of Moses Caicedo to Chelsea for over £100 million. And yet, it doesn't really matter. Moneyball is a term that is used a lot, and of course this really goes into the recruitment, where it is massively data driven, that in the last 10 to 15 years has overtook football, and they are really the biggest beneficiaries of that. Where a select algorithm is set in place that will identify players with certain needs and certain requirements that will suit whatever they really want from a player. It's extremely specific, and the idea of talking about this by anyone involved is extremely far and few in between due to how is serious it is. That's why when it comes to which players or which manager they have, it doesn't really fully matter, because fundamentally the philosophy of the club stays the same. No matter if they have Graham Potter or De Zerbi or now Vizeh, it doesn't really fully matter, because as long as they buy into the system and the philosophy, then that is the main core ingredient, and the players that they get in for that philosophy will remain the same. At this rate, the more Brighton sells their best players, the better they become. Estupinian came from Villarreal for €17 million, Enciso from Libertad for €11 million, Adingra from Nordirland for €8 million, Boanote for €6 million, Mitoma for €3 million. You get what I mean? And most players that I've named can possibly now be sold for about 40, 50, 60 million euros now. And that is just a consistent thing. There's so many other players as well. There's of course Evan Ferguson. There's also like Sarmiento can probably go for a bit of money now as well. Like for example, Veltman they bought for €1 million and John Paul Van Heck for €2 million. And it's not only a case of they will be priced out from a young talent from overseas if they don't feel like it's, worth it. But when they see a player which is absolutely worth it, they almost get it bang on every single time. Don't forget, they also had Victor Gyökeres as well, which for once they didn't get that to work, which is a goddamn shame, because imagine if he was there now. Brighton bought Gyökeres for €1 million and then sold Gyökeres to Coventry back in 2021 for €1.2 million. Now for once, that does at least give me hope that they are not absolutely perfect and they can make mistakes. So what about the team now? Well, there's a few changes. Boanate has now gone on loan to Leicester, but that is a loan. Pascal Gross is a big player that's gone to Dortmund, however, with his age and that eventually that was going to happen. Dennis Undav went for a large sum to Stuttgart for €26 million, and I do think he's a good player. And that's pretty much it in terms of bringing players in. Jorginho Rutters through the door, exciting young talent. Minte from Newcastle, exciting talent. Weifer from Feyenoord, good player. Gruder from Mainz, great player. And they are still set to confirm Matt O'Reilly and also Kadiglu as well from Fenerbahce. So there's still more players to come in. So most of their new players aren't even really playing yet, and they're already starting the season off quite well. Now it is only early days, however, there's no reason to say why Brighton can't keep this going. And that's why I predicted Brighton, I believe, 8th for my prediction, because I kind of already felt like they would just crack on again now without European football. And to see how Brighton have dealt with the onslaught from Chelsea and the higher-ups on trying to buy almost every aspect of their football club, I love how they've dealt with it, because despite no matter how much Chelsea buy off them, it still doesn't seem to work. When Todd Boehly came in to go and get Graham Potter, who was really highly sought after at that stage, he was a really highly respected manager and played some good football. And not only Potter, but also 5 other members of Brighton's staff. And then you can compare and contrast the clubs only 9 months later, with now over 10 players, staff, coaches have now gone to the club, and Chelsea is still completely buried with money, lacking anything remotely resembling a plan, and have already fired Potter and most of the Brighton staff, for then Brighton to effortlessly move on to the next name in line. And that name was of course Roberto De Zerbi, which then led them to one of the best seasons in their history. Evolution. That is not just the Brighton way, but how really any team in this industry can work. They are realistic. They know that they cannot be in that hierarchy of top level clubs. It simply cannot happen, and the only way that you can do that is if you keep selling your players for more money and make money for yourself in that natural way, which comes with luck, with extremely intricate and detailed planning, and their strategy is absolutely near perfect. What clubs cannot do is to build a squad for a certain coach, because once that coach leaves, then you need to build a different squad for the next coach. Everything has to be in line of the philosophy of the football club. This isn't always easy, but this is something that's took them quite a few years now to get a hold of, and it's working perfectly, like clockwork. So the question is, do you think that they could potentially stop? Because they're building the money up, they're selling all these players and making immense profit while still being in the Premier League. They're making more and more money. and they seem to always have a backup plan for the backup plan, no matter who it is, if it's a player or manager or a member of coaching staff. And the reason of that is because they are also realistic. They know that Brighton would never be a Tottenham or a Liverpool or an Arsenal or whoever. So they always know that they've got to have a backup plan. So if you're indeed a Brighton fan, I speak on behalf of everyone that's not a big club, a fan of a big club. You lucky sons of a... Anyway, tell me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.